Well, good morning, good afternoon, good night, whatever it is for you whenever you're listening to this show. Welcome back to the Drive to Dayton, episode 5 of your favorite show of the week. You might be saying, wait, what happened to episode 4? I don't even want to go down that route, ladies and gentlemen, but we had a great episode for you last week. It was like 90 minutes. We had a special guest for you, and somehow the show got deleted. I don't want to mention who we record with. But they did give me 3 free months for their mishap. I'm just going to blame it on them because I'm not saying their name. But here we are. We're back. Special post-Christmas edition of the Drive to Dayton. Gentlemen, how were your stockings?
Oh, man, I always get the most random things in my stocking. My mom never ceases to amaze me with the most random things she puts in there. I just get candy, got like a little bottle of cologne. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, I got Cleveland Browns shot glasses. I got a couple ornaments. One was like a moving truck to Cincinnati. And then another one was a cigar with some cards and dice, because I live about a 2-minute walk from the casino in Cincinnati this year. So that were my stocking stuffers this year.
Well, gentlemen, I hope that everybody had a good Christmas. Hope everybody listening did, and just hopefully you're getting to relax a little bit. Maybe take in some basketball throughout the holidays, and that's what we're here to talk about today. Last week, we did an introductory question that we thought was so good that since it got deleted, that we would do it again, but we're going to put a little caveat in it this time, and we're going to do a draft. So here, let me frame this for you. So what we're going to do is we're picking Ohio guys only. Has to be an accredited Ohio high school team, so no Spire or Western Reserve Academy, anybody like that has some really good players on it in their own right. We're going to pick a starting 5, a 6-man, and a head coach to win a big game tomorrow. All right. So, Roth, did you have the draft order?
TJ made it. It's you get to go first. TJ is second, and then I get picks 3 and 4, and then you loop around.
So we're gonna do the snake format, ladies and gentlemen. So I feel like Roth is gonna get a little bit more bang for his buck down there at the bottom of the draft, getting 3-4 there. All right, so I'm gonna start this off, and this is a perfect scenario here if everybody is healthy, correct? Like if these players are fully healthy. So I'm a big guards guy. I've always believed that you have to have great guard play to win a big game in March, no matter when it is or what time it is. So give me De'Eric Barber of Richmond Heights to run my team as the first overall pick in this draft.
I'm glad you went in that direction, Stubbs. I think that we have a plethora of guards to choose from here in Ohio.
Okay.
But the big guys, finding a truly good big, I feel like is very hard these days. So I'm going to go with a guy who is playing, in my opinion, the best basketball out of anybody currently in Ohio, and that is senior from Lutheran East, Jesse McCullough, the Michigan State commit.
Yeah, that was option 2 for me.
Well, I think this worked out perfectly for me. I get 2 of my top players on the board. I'm going to go with 1 wing and 1 big. I'm going to take Colin White as my wing, versatile shooter, high major prospect, just a winning basketball player. And then for my big, I'm going to take Tyler McKinley, can play either the 4 or the 5, very skilled, another high major commit. And he had a strong year as a junior at a prep school, and now is back in the OHSAA. So I'm going with Colin White and Tyler McKinley as my first 2 picks. TJ, we're back at you.
I'm going to go with the lead guard here. There weren't many underclassmen on my big board, but a guy who I think is just insanely talented and is capable of just controlling a game with his pace. You know, he knows how to pick his spots, when to score, when to get guys involved, and that is sophomore point guard Marcus Johnson out of Garfield Heights.
Marcus Johnson off the board. All right. So I'm going to have to take a big here. I guess I don't necessarily have to take a big unless you guys want 2 bigs in your lineup. But go ahead and give me Raleigh Burgess from Cincinnati Sycamore as my 2nd round pick. So,
back on me?
No, back to Stubbs.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's recap here. So I have De'Eric Barber and Raleigh Burgess. TJ, you have Jesse McCalla and Marcus Johnson running your squad. And then, Roth, you have Colin White and Tyler McKinley. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So I'm going to get a little bit bigger. I'm going to play this game a little bit different, and I'm going to take TJ Crumble from, almost said Lutheran East, Richmond Heights.
Oh, man. Back on me. I'm going to go with a guy who, in my opinion, is the best defender in Ohio, just with his length and athleticism and ability to recover and guard several different positions on the perimeter. And he can flat out shoot the basketball. Give me Richmond Heights Junior Dorian Jones.
That's who I was going to go with next, TJ. Stole him from me.
I like it, gentlemen.
I am going to grab my point guard, and I'm going to take a senior. I'm going to go with Luke Skaljak as my point guard. Just an elite shooter off the bounce, hits some clutch shots late in games. I think he's going to be my floor general running the show. And then I'm going to get him a running mate in the backcourt, and I'm going to go with Toledo Whitmer's Antoine West Jr. as my shooting guard. So I'm adding 2 guards here, kind of filling out my guard position with my starting lineup. So Luke Skaljak and Antoine West.
All right, TJ, you're up.
I'm going to go with a guy. Oh, man, I think I might be able to get him lower in the draft. Oh, this is tough. I'm going to go with another wing here, just a guy who I think has a really underrated feel, can flat out shoot the basketball. That's something my team is going to value over here. And a guy who just understands how to play. He's committed to Ralph's alma mater. Give me Jesse Burris.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right, so I got to round my team out here. All right, I need a little bit of wing. I've got Crumble and Burgess, and then I got De'Eric Barber. So I'm gonna need I need a dog out there. So I'm give me Cruz McClure of Westerville South. I needed a dog out there. And then, oh boy, so, how about for my, oh man, that's what they think of my 5th pick already.
It's out.
All right, so with my 5th pick, I'm going to take Trey Perry, Lakota East. So my squad now, I have De'Eric Barber, Raleigh Burgess, TJ Crumble, Cruz McClure, and Trey Perry. That is my 5. So TJ, your 5th pick would be?
I'm kind of stuck between two forwards that I really like. It's a toss-up for me right now between Russ Goddard, Damon Fryery, and even Landon Vanderwalker I can put in that conversation. I'm going to go with the guy who I think is the most versatile out of those three. Probably the best rebounder and most productive as of today. Give me Landon Vanderwalker.
So TJ's team is rounded out. So TJ has Jesse McCullough, Marcus Johnson, Dorian Jones, Antoine West, and Landon Vanderwalker. And Rob.
So TJ, I'm also taking a forward, but I'm taking a guy that you didn't mention. What's better than one Tyler in the front court? 2 Tylers in the front court. I'm taking Tyler Kropp. I think he's been fantastic this season. Just very skilled. I have 2 bigs that I can pass it to, run my offense through, and they can kick it out to shooters. They can score in the post. So I'm taking Tyler Kropp as my last guy in my starting lineup. And this is where it gets really tough because I got 2 guys as my 6th man. I'm debating either Cade Norris or Jonathan Powell right now. And I think because I already have Luke Skaljak and Antoine West that can both be de facto point guards, I'm going to take Jonathan Powell as my 6th man. So he's going to fill out my lineup. The Xavier commit.
Back on me. I am going to go with Ross' other pick, and that is Cade Norris. Just a guy who I think is the epitome of winning, super versatile, productive, just a great connector piece that's going to get other guys involved, do a lot of things that aren't going to show up in the box score, and just have a major impact on winning. So, yeah, give me Cade Norris as my 6th man.
So I think I had this backwards when I read it the first time. So TJ, you have Jesse McCullough, Marcus Johnson, Dorian Jones, Jesse Burris, and Landon Vanderwalker. 6-man Cade Norris. Roth has Colin White, Tyler McKinley, Luke Skaljak, Antoine West, Tyler Kropp, and Jonathan Powell as your 6-man.
Yep, feeling good about my team.
Yeah, both of those are really good teams. All right, so I need a 6-man. I got De'Eric Barber, Raleigh Burgess, TJ Crumble, Cruz McClure, and Trey Perry. So I need somebody to come in, gentlemen, and just heat up. I need somebody that's going to just heat it up. Right now, there's a couple guys that I'm thinking about, and I don't know. Man, this is a tough call here. I might go a little bit outside the box here. A guy that can really score the basketball. Give me Give me Cameron Elwer of Delphos St. John's.
You are thinking outside the box, Stubbs.
Just a guy that just come in, give me some buckets. Probably going to struggle to guard your teams for sure. But
Stubbs is small. Stubbs has 3 small guards.
Yeah. All right. So I need somebody to coach this squad. And I'm going to go with Eric Kruger of the Pickerington Central Tigers.
Shocker.
First pick. I think we talked a little bit about this last week. A guy that's won 200 games already. More district titles than I can count. Two appearances in the state finals, 1 state championship, 1 runner-up, and then 2 other trips to the Final Four. The one in 2018 we talked about last week was an absolute miracle. Very undervalued coach, very undervalued coaching staff. Give me Eric Kruger to lead my squad.
I am going to go with the same pick I had last week. Give me Coach Cupps out of Centerville, a guy who I think just does a great job of managing personalities, developing a culture, and getting guys to play the right way. There's a few kids on my team that he coached already in the spring and the summer. Another kid that he's probably going to coach up this coming in 2024. Give me Coach Cupps out of Centerville.
And to coach my team, I'm going to go with St. Vincent St. Mary's Drew Joyce. So to round out my team, once again, my starting 5, point guard Luke Skaljak, shooting guard Antoine West Jr., small forward Colin White, power forward Tyler Kropp, center Tyler McKinley, 6th man Jonathan Powell, and my coach Drew Joyce.
Real good squad there. Gentlemen, that was a fun exercise.
Yeah, we'll do a little poll on social media and see which team comes away with the victory. I like my chances here.
Yeah, you guys both have really good squads. Obviously, you guys see these players a lot more than I do. So, TJ and Ross squad's probably going to battle it out for that pole position. But, with my coaching staff, I don't know. We've pulled it out before when there was a couple of guys that didn't think it was going to happen. So, all right, gentlemen, let's move to the last week's recap. I just had a couple of things that I wanted to talk about, and then I'll let you guys roll. Last week, I had mentioned Richmond Heights on this show. You guys didn't hear that as my team of the week. I thought it was a real good week for them to get that swag back, if you will, heading down to the City of Palms. I was fortunate enough to be able to attend the City of Palms in 2015, so I know what that event is all about. It is elite competition, and Richmond Heights quickly found that out. They go down to the City of Palms, open up with IMG Academy, and lose that 89-48. TJ and I were talking about they were 6 of 32 from 3. That is not going to get it done. I think they were like 18 of 61 from the field or something like that. And then against North Mecklenburg, I really feel like not having Derek Barber, 21 turnovers in that game. They end up losing by like 22 points, I think. And then they get a win over Mariner in Florida to go 1-2. They didn't go winless down there. 12 of 27 for 3 in that game. 4 people in doubles. Crumble had 20 and 7. That was more like a Richmond Heights performance when you have like 3, 4, 5 guys in double figures. That is their type of game. Make 12 threes, and they win by 30-plus, convincing win. So, all things considered, they come back on a winning note after losing their first 2 down there. So we'll see how that translates as they come back to the States, or not to the States, but to Ohio. moving forward into the rest of the season. Other two teams I wanted to mention, these are two teams that were definitely considered top 10 teams in Division 4 to start the year. Marion Local, as you know, late start as always for football. They're 1-2 to start the year. They lost to St. Mary's, who's having a really good year. And then they turn around and lose to Anna the next night. So they are 1-2. And then Patrick Henry was another popular team that was in the regional last year. They also made a deep football run to the Final Four. 1-3 on the year. 3 straight losses for Patrick Henry, Miller City, Columbus Grove, and then they lost to Napoleon. So we'll see what those two teams can do as the season progresses. Like I said, late football starts for both those teams. I think they're going to be there, at the end, though.
Yeah, it was a bit of a lighter week for me last year, just a lot of personal and family obligations. But I did make the trip down to Columbus on Tuesday. It was a bit of a lighter slate up here in Northeast Ohio, so I figured I'd hit the road. And I went and caught Westerville North against Westerville South, which is a pretty big rivalry down in Central Ohio. I wasn't even able to park in the school parking lot. I had to park probably about a quarter mile up the road on a side street. And while the walk sucked, man, it did kind of feel good just to know that you're getting ready to walk into a good environment where people are actually coming out to watch basketball. I'm hoping that things in Ohio start to take that turn as people transition from football to basketball. I think we'll start to see a lot more casual fans in attendance at games now. But it was a good game. So Westerville South was in control for the entire, what felt like the entire first half. I thought the pace was very much in their favor. And then things took a major turn in the third quarter. I think the pressure from Westerville North just kind of got to be a little bit too much. And junior Ty Perkins put on an absolute show. He scored 21 of his 34 points in the third quarter. I can't remember the last time I watched a guy get 20 points in a quarter. But it was a ton of fun. I mean, he was hitting off the dribble threes, getting out in transition, wreaking havoc in the backcourt with his on-ball defense. And that was just the major difference maker in that game was the third quarter. And Westerville South was not able to bounce back. Westerville North picked up a big win on the road. And then me and Roth were both in attendance for the NEO Youth Elite Christmas Classic. I was there on day one. Roth was there both day one and day two. Day one saw a bit of some lopsided games. Maple Heights picked up a win over Elyria. I thought the backcourt of Kenyon Giles and freshman King Young were great. It was my first time getting a look at both of those teams. Maple Heights was without junior Devon Anderson, who was serving a quick suspension. I believe he is back now. They ended up losing the next day to St. Ignatius on the road. Lutheran East picked up a big win over their neighbor, Cleveland Heights. And lastly, which was the game of the night, was Brush picked up a very good win over Warrensville Heights. I don't think people realize how good this Warrensville Heights team is going to be in Division II. I'd say outside of Lutheran West, I would say they're very capable of beating anybody in Northeast Ohio. I want to say they added about 8 or 9 guys from last year, a lot of different transfers, guys who were on JV here, guys who were role players here. And they put together a group that just plays really, really hard for Coach Meechie Johnson. And they nearly pulled it off against Brush.
Yeah, and then I spent a majority of the early week in Kentucky. I was down at King of the Bluegrass. And then, like TJ said, both days at Garfield Heights. Second day, we started with Cornerstone Christian. They fell to a good Wayne Memorial squad out of Michigan. It was actually my first time seeing Quinn Turtle Kwasniak in person. And, I mean, there is flat out not a better shooter in Ohio. He was not given many space, at the start of the game, and about halfway through the first quarter, he gets a ball screen behind the volleyball line and pulls up from 28 feet, and it's nothing but net. And that's just the sort of shooter that he is. He is one of the few guys in the country with the in the gym sort of range. So it was good to watch Kwasniak for the first time in person, get a good feel about his game. Another notable game, Lutheran West, even without Tino, who was sick, they dominate Glenville, and their squad depth is very impressive. They can play 8 or 9 guys. They're versatile. They have size. They have shooting. They have experience. They have some youth. This is one of the best teams in Ohio, regardless of division. They play a good brand of basketball. They can make shots from the outside. They don't turn the ball over. They guard you. Lutheran West is a very, very impressive team. I thought sophomore Kendall Compton has big-time upside down the road, but their seniors share the ball. They're all back from last year, and the guard trio of Levis, Fairley, and Dylan Barczyk are firing on all cylinders. And then finally, Garfield Heights, the host, they cruise to a running clock victory over Cleveland Benedictine, and they are getting ready for what is one of the marquee games of the year when they host Richmond Heights at home this weekend. So Garfield Heights, they have a very interesting team. No CJ Little on Saturday. I will see if he's back for the game against Richmond Heights, but Marcus Johnson was terrific. And they have 3 freshmen that got a lot of minutes who are all talented, couple bigs and a guard. I also thought that junior Devon Jackson was very impressive as well. He's a big-time shot maker from the shooting guard position for Garfield Heights. So that's the recap of day 2 from the NEO Youth Elite Christmas Classic.
Good stuff, gentlemen. More teams off your list. I'm sure you'll see some of those teams again down the road. Let's move into our players of the week, teams of the week. TJ, I'm going to start with you with your player of the week.
So I'm going to go with Cruz McClure. After a tough loss to Westerville North, like I mentioned, I believe he finished with 24 points that night. Really had to work to create his own offense, but he was just relentless, I thought, throughout the whole night. But he bounced back after that with a 41-point performance against undefeated Delaware Hayes, and more importantly, he picked up the win. Cruz, I'd imagine, is amongst the lead, the leaders of the state in points per game. He is averaging a monster 32.7 points a night, and with that win was able to get Westerville South back to 500. I believe they are currently sitting at 3-3.
And TJ, you know how impressive that 32 points a game, and playing OCC, all those coaches know each other, so it's not like you're going to go out there and fool anybody
No.
as what you're trying to do. I mean, that is an impressive start for that young man.
My player of the week is Sean Register. He's actually a kid that I've never gotten the chance to see in person. I've seen videos of him, clips of him, but never gotten a chance to see in person just yet. He became Eastlake North's all-time leading scorer. He's at 1,238 points and counting, and he also had 33 points in a win over West Geauga this week. So Sean Register, my player of the week.
I also want to give you guys a chance to just quickly shout out. Last week, our show that got deleted, TJ, your player of the week was Antoine West. And then Roth, your player of the week last week was Trey Perry of Lakota East.
Yep, the Lost Files.
Yeah. Antoine West in that week, he scored 30 points against Lima Senior. I believe he scored 75 points over the course of the 3 games, surpassed 1,000 points for his career, and they went 3-0 on the week. So that's why Antoine West got the shout out from me. Unfortunately, you guys didn't get to see it, but we're going to show him some love now.
And then Trey Perry, he scored 33 points in an overtime victory against Oak Hills. That was a game I was at. And then Friday of last week, he scored 24 points, going 11 for 13 from the field in a blowout victory over Coleraine.
My player of the week for this week, gentlemen, was a guy I put as my sixth man. He was fresh on my mind. Cameron Elwer of Delphos St. John's, sophomore. Father is the head coach up there at DSJ. Aaron Elwer, one of the best in the state. 36 points, 9 rebounds, 12 of 13 at the free throw line, and a big 62-44 win at Convoy Crestview. Teams typically do not get rich at the Ray, as they call it, Ray Etzler's gymnasium up there. And then he followed that up with 23 points in just 3 quarters and a win over Bath. So Cameron Elwer of Delphos St. John's is my player. Sophomore Cameron Elwer is the player of the week for me. Last week, my player of the week, just want to shout out Tucker Howe, junior at Monroe Central in Woodsfield, Ohio. Had 31 points in a decisive win over big school West Virginia, Brooke, in the Buckeye 8 Challenge. Monroe Central currently 7-0 in a sleeper in Division 4, so keep an eye on the Seminoles. All right, guys, let's move to our teams of the week. And TJ, I'll start with you.
So my team of the week is the same as it was last week. I'm going to double up on Louisville. So Louisville is currently sitting at 7-1. Their only loss coming to St. Ignatius on the road. I think that win for Ignatius is going to look really good come February and March. So on February 15th, Louisville picked up a dominant win over Hoban. Senior Hayden Nigro was phenomenal. He finished with a game-high 31 points. And then the Leopards turned around and went 3-1 in Florida this past weekend. And outside of their big three, Hayden Nigro, Braden Groves, Bo Siegfried, those guys get a lot of love. But that team has like a plethora of long, strong kids that come off the bench that all can impact the game in different ways. While I think Nigro and Gross, kind of battle back and forth certain nights, as far as scoring leaders and rebound leaders. To me, junior guard Bo Siegfried he's the straw that stirs the drink for that team. I think he's their most valuable piece, a guy that just checks every box for what I personally like to see in a point guard. And at his size, he is fiery, man. He could flat out shoot it, defend the ball, get feet in the paint, make plays for everybody else. And personally, I always choose a guy that likes to set the table for everybody else. And I think that's a team that has a chance to not only be a contender as we get close to the postseason, but I think they are capable of running the table. Now that they're back from Florida, they have, a few games where I think they'll be tested. They have CVCA, McKinley, and then they have St. Ed's at St. Ed's. All games that they are capable of winning. I would not be shocked to see Louisville run the table here in Ohio as far as the regular season goes.
Hey, listen, Coach Siegfried, if you're watching this show or anybody with any stroke or power out there from the Leopards Nation, can you please send my man TJ a sweatshirt, T-shirt, cutoff, practice jersey, something. Get this man some gear. He loves the Leopards. Let's go.
Number one fan. I think TJ might like Louisville more than Stubbs likes Pick Central.
I wouldn't go that far.
Rob, what do you got for us, man?
Yeah, my team of the week, I'm going with Findlay. They had a 30-point win over Anthony Wayne, and then a huge upset. They not only beat Toledo Whitmer, but beat them by 22 points. Their senior duo of Will Corder and Javante Hill have Findlay at 5-0. I believe Hill also made SportsCenter top 10 plays with a putback slam in that victory over Toledo Whitmer. So Findlay, that's a surprise team. Not a lot of people were talking about them in the preseason. Right now they're sitting at 5-0, playing some good basketball. We'll see if they can keep this up as we head to the new year.
That play by Hill was just stupid athleticism. Shout out to the Findlay Trojans, a team that, I mean, just kind of flew under the radar a little bit. Jim Ruckey does a great job up there. If I'm not correct, gentlemen, if I'm not mistaken, that game was at Whitmer, correct?
It was.
Oh, even better win, especially, when you can go and get one on the road against a team like that. I mean, that's a feather in your cap. So congratulations to Findlay, Mike Ross, Team of the Week. Last week, Roth, your Team of the Week, I just want to shout those guys out. Springboro.
Yeah, they 2 weeks ago, they had a 2-point win at Huber Heights Wayne, a 17-point win at home against Springfield, and then a 29-point win against Monroe. They got some seniors playing well in their backcourt: Will Yates, Maxon Butler, got junior big Carson Gutman, and I believe they only lost to Centerville by 7 this week. So showing that they might be pretty competitive in the Dayton Division I playoffs. We'll have to see what happens in their rematch. But definitely a team that's caught me by surprise is Springboro so far this season.
All right, to round this out, my Team of the Week, and I think I said this on last week's show, which, again, nobody saw except for us. Me personally, when I'm looking at Players of the Week, Team of the Week, Games of the Week, the way we had it kind of constructed is I kind of focus more on like the D3, D4 stuff, and TJ and Roth are more focused on the D1, D2 stuff. I mean, because they're looking for players with their businesses that they have that are going to play at the next level. So a lot of those teams, let's be honest, those guys are playing at Division I and II schools. And then the 3s and 4s that they see are a lot of the same teams that have a lot of the prospects. And now, if these guys had it their way, they love ball. So they'll watch anybody that has good teams. But for what they do, they see a lot of Division I, Division II teams. So that's why, if you're wondering, like, why are my Players of the Week or Team of the Week are costed like 3 and 4, that's why. So my Team of the Week this week is Spencerville, a team that opened up 0-2 on the year. Kevin Sensabaugh, his team, I believe they were in the Elida Classic to start the year. They went 0-2 in that. They have now won 4 straight. They have beat Convoy, Crestview, Ottoville, and Minster to do it. So they are sitting at 4-2 right now, playing really good basketball. Another strong team up in that northwest area in Division IV. So my Team of the Week, Spencerville. I mentioned earlier in the show, Richmond Heights was my team last week. So players and teams of the week in the book. Let's go to some things that we want to watch or that you should be watching this week.
Yeah, there are a few different events kind of scattered across the state here this week. I will be in attendance at quite a few of them. On the 27th, which is for us is tomorrow, I'm heading over to Talmadge to check the last 3 games of that event. So you have Wadsworth and Woodridge, Cuyahoga Falls taking on Walsh Jesuit, and then lastly Talmadge going up against Louisville. There's a Holiday Hardwood Classic at Xavier. You're getting Cincinnati Elder against Anderson, Taft and Withrow, Milford and Sycamore, and then capped off with Lakota West and Fairfield. You have the NEO Youth Elite Christmas Classic, day 3 of that. So you have Maple Heights against Lutheran West. And then lastly, the game of the week, probably the game of the month, Garfield Heights against Richmond Heights at Garfield. I expect a sold out crowd for that. I think Sonny is going to have it rocking in there. I just hope that he stays off the mic. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then also on the 28th, I want to check 4 new teams off my list. I'm going to head over to Sandusky for the Streak Ball Classic, which is a 4-team tournament between Lorain, Toledo, Whitmer, Detroit Country Day, and the host school, Sandusky. I think there are some fun matchups to be had there, regardless of who wins and who loses that opening night.
Yeah, and then on the 30th, I am going to be headed down to Columbus to watch the Holiday Hoop Fest at Harvest Prep. Planning on getting there for the second game as it starts at 10 a.m. So, second game, you got Dublin Scioto against Columbus Independence. Some other interesting games throughout the day: Lutheran East versus Cincinnati St. Xavier, Dayton Chaminade Julian versus Parkersburg South, and then host Harvest Prep takes on Dayton Dunbar to end the night. So, going to be a long day of basketball, but should be some competitive games. Going to get a chance to see some new teams that I probably wouldn't see unless I go to this event. So excited to see your Dublin Sciotos, your New Lexingtons, Mansfield. And I thought Parkersburg South was a pretty interesting watch last year at one of the Harvest Prep events. And they are back this season at both Harvest Preps events on the December 30th and also January 2nd. So should be a good day of basketball in Canal.
Is there also like a Jingle Bell Classic or something at Cedar Point coming up as well?
Yeah, there's a Jingle Bell Jam.
Jingle
I
Bell
believe
Jam.
it's the second or third year of that event. It takes place at the Cedar Point Sports Center in Sandusky, which is a beautiful facility for those of you who have never been. The schedule for that,
I have it up.
Yeah, it's a little scattered out. There are some boys and girls games. On the 29th, you have Springfield against Open Door Christian, Madison against Anthony Wayne. I would highly recommend you guys to check out Madison if you can. Senior JP Dragas, who's headed to West Liberty next year, has been on a tear. I believe he had a 40-point game a few nights ago, including 7 or 8 threes, which was, I believe, the school record. Then you have New Boston Huron out of Michigan taking on Sandusky Perkins. On the 30th, you get Open Door Christian against Willard, Oak Harbor against Madison, North Olmsted against Huron, and then Seneca East against Margaretta. So it's a good blend of Northeast Ohio teams, Northern Ohio teams, sprinkled in with a few outsiders. So not a bad 2-day event at all if you're in that northern, northwest Ohio area.
Good stuff, gentlemen. All right, let's turn the page here to our game or games of the week. TJ, I'll start with you. What are you feasting on this week as far as your games of the week?
I mentioned it earlier, but I think that Richmond Heights and Garfield Heights game has a chance to be really, really fun. I think it's few and far between these days, unfortunately, where you can go to a game and the crowd is just there. They're excited. It's rocking. And I think this is going to be one of the few times this year where you get one of those kind of environments. I'm excited. I mean, you're looking at a game that's got almost double-digit Division I prospects on the floor, including a few other scholarship-level guys that are underclassmen. That's just going to be a lot of fun. I think it'll be curious to see whether Derek Barber is back for Richmond Heights, how long C.J. Little is out for Garfield Heights. I think that will ultimately be the deciding factor. A game that Roth is going to catch on the 30th really caught my eye is Lutheran East against St. X out of Cincinnati. So I think that's just going to be a really physical game. There's big bodies. I think St. X on paper is capable of matching up with Lutheran East, with junior Jacob Wassler, and fellow junior Donovan Walikowski has been huge. He just had a really big game the other night. So I think that should be a lot of fun. That's at Harvest Prep on the 30th. And then just from a pure just tempo standpoint, I think Toledo, Whitmer, and Sandusky game, if they both win on the 28th, they'll match up on the 29th. I just think that just could be a lot of fun. I'm not sure exactly how competitive it will be, but it will be a track meet with a basketball, and sometimes those games are just a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Sonny Johnson is kind of like the Don King promoter extraordinaire. If there is a big game, even if it's not like, he can promote just about anything. Let's be honest. So this one definitely has some meat to it. So I'm sure this is going to be wild. This game, that from an atmosphere standpoint, should be pretty crazy, as TJ mentioned. All right, Roth, what's on your card?
I got a couple under the radar games at events that have like 2 games per day. So I'm going to start at the Pioneer Classic on December 29th. Marysville travels to Jonathan Alder. I think that'll be an interesting game. You'll have Jason Moore going up against Peyton Heiss. Just solid matchup. And then in the Wishes Can Happen event on December 28th, Bishop Reedy is taking on Canton Glen Oak. I think that's an interesting clash of styles. Reedy is a more patient team, while Glen Oak likes to make the game very up and down. So it'll be interesting to see if Reedy wants to play with pace or if they're going to slow it down and if Glen Oak can sort of speed them up. So I'm kind of interested. I think that game, I wouldn't be surprised if Reedy wins big, Reedy wins close. If Glen Oak wins close or if Glen Oak wins big, I really don't know what to expect.
Yeah, I think Glen Oak, I mean, we didn't talk too much about them, if any, in our preview show. They've really got some quality wins under the belt. Reedy, with that big win they had last week. Jonathan Alder is another team. They played a weird game They played at New Bremen last week, which I'm interested to see how that game came about. But and in Marysville with Jason Moore. So two high quality games for me. I'm looking at Patrick Henry against undefeated Pandora Gilboa. I want to see how long it takes these guys from Patrick Henry to kind of get into the groove of things. As you guys know, it's hard to transition from football to basketball because basketball is such a game of skill. And it's not just like you can just jump right in from one to the other. Where basketball, you could probably jump right into football. Not as much. I mean, there is skill involved, don't get me wrong, but basketball is a lot about skill in today's game. So, interested in that one. Toledo Christian at Miller City on the 28th. Miller City's a team that I think is flying under the radar in D4 out of Putnam County. Harvest Prep against Westerville South. I think this could be an entertaining game on 12/28. That's a good matchup for Harvest Prep. To see kind of where they're at. Portsmouth, another undefeated team, Division III, Southeast Ohio, at Wheelersburg on the 29th. And then Highland, the Hawks, will play University School and Lutheran East back-to-back nights on the 28th and 29th. And then Ottawa Glandorf, undefeated at undefeated Lima Central Catholic on the 30th of December. That's interesting because LCC will play a home game with Lima Shawnee, I think 2 days before that. So it'll be interesting to see how those two games play out for LCC. But those are some of the games that I'm paying attention to in the next few days. All right. Anything else as far as games of the week? Any final thoughts there?
No, I think we covered it all.
All right, let's move on to buy or sell. You guys had a really good buy or sell last week. We're going to do this week because, again, before we get to that question, though, I slipped one in on you guys, and I slipped this in because I know you guys are prepared for this. And you don't know you're prepared, but you are prepared. All right, I thought of something the other day. I was talking to a guy, and I said, right now, I could be convinced that the 4 best teams in the state of Ohio are in Northeast Ohio, and they're not all in Division I. And I listed the 4 teams, and I want to see what you guys think. I want you to buy or sell if you could make an argument for these 4 teams. Lutheran East, Richmond Heights, Lutheran West, and St. Ignatius?
I think you could make a case. I feel like you almost have to put Garfield Heights in there. Currently undefeated with a really big win over Huntington Prep. I think they have as much talent on paper as anybody in Ohio. So I would probably put Sonny Johnson's Bulldogs in that mix, but I'm going to buy. I don't think people realize exactly how good Lutheran West is and just how skilled they are. Coach Jordan Duke, in my opinion, is one of the best in-game coaches in Ohio. He does a great job of putting his guys in places to be successful. And they just run a lot of great action. And when you have two guards like Derek Fairley and Jason Levis, it makes the game a whole lot easier for everybody else.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make that case. So I guess I'm buying this take as well. I just saw Lutheran West play against Glenville, and it was a fantastic performance. So, yeah, I think you could make the argument that those are the four best teams, four of the best teams. So it'll be interesting to see where we sit going into the playoff draw, if we think those four teams are favorites in each division, or if a couple of them go back closer to the rest of the pack, especially in divisions 2, 3, and 4. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, when you said that, Roth, I just kind of guess I didn't even realize I had one in all four divisions. So the could very easily be your 4 state champs. I mean, let's be honest. So the question that we posed last week, does Indiana, the state of Indiana, and I'll let TJ frame this a little bit more from where this question came from, does Indiana have a more effective competitive ballot system, reclassification period, point system, etc.?
So somebody sent me a document on Twitter that just basically broke down the way Indiana does their competitive balance. Obviously, they base it off of enrollment as well, but they have these reclassification periods. I don't remember how often those take place, but let's just hypothetically say every 2, 3, or 4 years, they take a look at, the teams who have racked up enough points to move up. And the way the point system goes is if you win a sectional title, you get 1 point. A regional title is 2. State semis is 3. And if you win the state championship, you get 4 points. So if a team accumulates 6 or more points during any given reclassification period, they move up a division. So it's basically almost a guarantee to say that the state champions in Division 2, Division 3, or Division 4 every year, or at the end of the reclassification period, would move up to the next highest division every year. Personally, I think it's a really cool way to break it down. Obviously, I think with any system, there are pros and cons, but I'm going to buy. I think it's fun. I think teams want the challenge. I think if you're a team that just won Division 3 and you get to move up to Division 2, I think that's a cool experience for the kids. I will say I do think it would be unfortunate in some situations where let's say you have a team that's very senior laden, and let's say they go on a run, they win the state championship, they graduate the majority of their core, and then they have to move up to the next division with a brand new roster. That would be probably my only con or takeaway from it. But overall, I think the system is really cool and unique, and I think we might not need to adopt that exactly, but I would like to see Ohio just take it into their own hands in some degree and be able to move some of these teams up from Division 2, Division 3, and Division 4.
Yeah, I echo what TJ says. I buy it, but also there definitely are a couple flaws, like he mentioned. I think the coolest thing is for some of the Division 1 schools that basically never make it out of the sectional, if they got to move down to Division 2 or Division 3, they would have a chance to be more competitive, because there are some schools that are in Division I who pretty much every year lose their first round playoff game by 30 to 40 points. And it's highly unlikely they're really ever going to make a run. So I think allowing those schools to maybe find a division where they wouldn't still be able to dominate, but they'd be able to at least be a little bit more competitive and occasionally win a playoff game would be interesting. But yeah, I totally buy that this would probably help eliminate some of the lopsided results that we see in Divisions 3 and 4, and it would also limit the same teams that you see over and over again in the state semifinals and finals in those smaller divisions. So I don't think it's perfect by any means. I think pretty much anything you do isn't going to be perfect, but I do buy that this is a solid system that they're trying to solve some issues, and I feel like this system does solve some issues in the postseason, so I buy it.
Yeah, I think, and I think I've mentioned this before on the show, I think we need to bring more guys like yourselves into the room, into the conversation in this stuff, instead of like alienating people and putting people on islands and it's us versus them, and that stuff's got to stop. All right, I mean, let's get there. There's a lot of smart people that have a lot that watch. Like, I mean, nobody watches more basketball in Ohio than you two, or maybe Kyle. But shout out to our guy, man. Shout out to our guy. But I just feel like there's got to be more voices heard on this stuff. And listen, I understand that football controls a lot of the narrative on things. But one thing that I was thinking of, definitely the one drawback with moving up would be what you mentioned, TJ, with like, hey, maybe this team had like the greatest like class they've ever had, and boom, they all graduate, and then you're like moving them up. That's something. And then I just wonder, so I follow football really closely as well in Ohio. When they stretched it from, I've been around long enough to know when they stretched it from like 5 to 6 and then 6 to 7. And so when they stretched it to 7, what happened was teams just reshuffled. And then what you saw was you started to see after, 2013, I think that's somewhere around there when 7 divisions came into play in football. After a couple years, you realize, okay, these are the teams that are going to dominate 7. These are the teams that are going to dominate 6, 5. And then, you have the teams like Marion Local in football that are bouncing back and forth between 7, 6, Coldwater, 6, 5. And, I think in basketball, after a couple years, you'd probably see a lot of the same thing as teams settle in their respective divisions. But it would bring more teams to the table, to the state front table. I mean, you could have, like, legitimately Louisville and Lutheran West. How about that matchup in Division II? Because Louisville is a Division I by enrollment, but come on. Most years, when you think of Louisville, you think of a really solid, good Division II program. Dover is another team. Like, they don't ever get out of the sectional. They win 18, 19 games. They don't ever get out of sectional in Division I. So I think that those teams would have more of a, a lot of people like to bring up Wilmington the one year in 2016. They had a guy that scored 7 billion points that was a monster at the Division I college level. That's not going to happen all the time. So those teams down at the bottom of Division I mean, it's like a death sentence. When you're having to play the Centervilles, Moelers, Ignatiuses of the world, I mean, it's a numbers game. But I think it's a great question, something definitely to keep thinking about. All right, we usually close the show, gentlemen, with our Alumni Spotlight, but A lot of those teams, I believe, were on winter break, so not a whole lot going on.
Especially at the small college level, a lot of the D2, D3 NAI guys get to go home for a little bit. So we're just going to kind of reshuffle and repeat our spotlight picks from a week ago that you guys were unfortunately not able to see. But before we get into that, though, I do want to mention one thing about the OHSAA. So obviously the conversation of whether or not they're adding a 6th and a 7th division, apparently they have taken this topic and they have kind of taken it to high school coaches and athletic directors from all sports and just trying to get some sort of feedback. So I guess, I don't know, I'll be curious to see what kind of results they get back. I don't know if they're sending out a survey or how that's going, but from what I've heard, that the 6th or the 7th division may not be as concrete as I was led on to believe. But if I was a betting man, I still think it happens in one way, shape, or another. But yeah, just wanted to throw that tidbit out there, and we'll keep you updated as we hear back more.
I think it's interesting, TJ, that I don't know if it's coincidence, ironic, whatever you want to say, but we posted that clip of, I think it was like episode 1 or 2. We cut that clip from you talking about that. I mean, and it was like a couple days after that, the OHSAA was getting that out there.
It was pretty funny how that time.
Interesting that just kind of ironic.
Yeah, and I had been sitting on that since like the summer. So I was told about that like early August. I believe I sent the message out to you guys. And that was really it. I tried to kind of keep it under my hat, but I was definitely itching to talk about it and to get that rant out. So.
Yeah, I think we might have upgraded from a Pontiac Sunfire to maybe like a Toyota Corolla, because the drive to Dayton's making waves out there, gentlemen. All right, let's close the show. Roth, we definitely want to give these guys their shine from last week, the Alumni Spotlight.
Yeah, so last week I shouted out Javen Simmons from Toledo as my Division I Alumni Spotlight Player of the Week. Simmons is a Gahanna grad who redshirted last year and is now getting the opportunity to shine for one of the top programs in the Mid-American Conference. He scored 13 points, grabbed 4 rebounds in a win over Northern Iowa. And then against Marshall, scored 15 points, 3 assists. Just showing that redshirting isn't always a bad thing. He seemed like he improved over that season and has done really great things for the Rockets this year. And now he'll have an extra year of eligibility on the back end, either if he wants to stay at Toledo or potentially go somewhere else. And then my small college player of the week from last week is Jackie Harris. He is currently at Lourdes, which is in the NAIA. He is a Toledo St. Francis grad. Lourdes was 10-0 at the time of recording last week. I don't think they've played since then. And Harris is averaging 23.8 points per game, shooting 44% from three-point range. So he has just been filling it up for an unbeaten team that's ranked in the top 25. Just a great story at Lourdes, because I believe 5 of their top 8 players in minutes are all from Northwest Ohio, 4 of them from the Toledo area specifically. So they've done a great job either getting kids out of high school or getting kids like Harris to come home from the transfer portal. They're winning games, having one of their best seasons in school history, and doing it with a lot of local talent. So just want to shout out Lourdes as a team and also Jackie Harris as my Alumni Spotlight Small College Player of the Week.
Ohio State great Dennis Hobson leading that Lourdes team. So shout out to Hob.
For my Division I pick from a few weeks ago, I went with Alex Williams, Cincinnati Moeller grad, who's currently at Furman. So a few weeks ago, he had a career-high 31 points against Bob Jones, and then followed it up with 23 points in a double overtime loss against Tulane, which was probably one of the more entertaining college games played so far this year. Alex is averaging 15.6 points a game, 5 rebounds, and is shooting 38% from beyond the three-point line. He's a kid who's kind of positionless, right? You don't know what he is. A bit of a jumbo forward is what Chaz Wolf likes to call him, so I've stolen that terminology. But, man, he's just a guy that impacts winning, checks a lot of boxes, won a lot of games in high school, and was a very sneaky pickup for Furman. My small college pick went with Anthony Ruffalo out of Cedarville. He's a Kettering Alter grad. He actually picked up GMAC Player of the Week honors. He stepped up big time after Cedarville lost one of their starters due to injury. He had a career-high 26 points in a win against Lewis. And in his last 5 games since he stepped up, averaging 15 points, pulling down 7 rebounds, and has made 17 threes total over the course of that stretch. And Ruffalo, I'm going to give a shout-out to. He's just a kid who was a bit under-recruited, honestly, coming out of high school. Was not a kid who necessarily looked the part of a scholarship player. I think that's one thing that we all get caught up in sometimes is how guys look physically and, you know, how twitchy they are athletically. But we often just kind of underrate how productive guys are. And Ruffalo was a kid who I talked with Coach Estep about where he might not have the highest ceiling, but, man, that kid has a great floor. And I am not shocked in the slightest that he is contributing early and as often as he is for Cedarville. Just a kid that flat out knows how to play, competes at a really high level, and can flat out shoot the basketball. So huge shout out to Anthony Ruffalo.
Yeah, Alex Williams, I'll tell you what he is. He's a guy that's going to give you 40 at the YMCA here in about 10 years. I mean, he's
Your
always
small college player of the week is also going to give people 40 in the 40 and up league coming up here soon.
I mean, oh man. My player of the week last week was Philip Alston, who just has a great story in general of how he's arrived at Loyola Chicago. A transfer in from Cal, PA. He had I believe he had like a health scare a few years back. He had 27 points, 5 rebounds, and a loss to South Florida. 25 points in the game prior to that. He leads the Ramblers in scoring, which is interesting because 3 of the top 4 scorers for Loyola Chicago are Columbus area kids. You got Alston, Des Watson from DeSales is second in the team in scoring. And then Braden Norris is 4th in the team in scoring, a kid from Hilliard Bradley. So those kids, Central Ohio, 3 out of the top 4 scorers for Loyola Chicago. And then my small college player of the week last week was a guy named Marcus Johnson, who actually is the second Marcus Johnson that has played at Akron St. V. There was the human highlight reel Marcus Johnson back in 2006. Yeah, this is Marcus Johnson. It's a little more grounded, but really knows how to play the game of basketball. He had 22.6 rebounds on 9 of 13 shooting in a win over the University of Charleston, and then 28 points on 11 of 15 shooting against an unbeaten in a 94-90 loss to unbeaten Cal, PA. He's averaging 22 and 7 on the season. And then another guy at Wheeling College or Wheeling University is Sean Ely from Clark Montessori. Is averaging 15 points a game down at Wheeling as well. So shout out to Marcus Johnson, St. V alum.
All right. What an episode.
Gentlemen, I hope that you guys have a wonderful week on the hardwood. Please stay safe over the weekend. I hope you guys are working on your rankings, working on the show, not going out on the 31st.
No promises.
listen.
What about the first? We got college football on the first this year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, back-to-back nights.
In Columbus, they don't believe that there's football being played on the first. They're not believing that.
We'll have fun in Cincinnati then.
All right, gentlemen, have a great week.
Yep, see you guys.